If you're like me, you're a fan of independent brands. A lot of them are very, very expensive and sometimes they don't hold their value. So you're left holding a watch that you just bought for a lot of money and it's not worth a lot of money anymore. That recently started happening with brands like Ming. These watches were selling for a premium and now they're not selling for a premium anymore, and you can get them at a discount on places like eBay. Usually with micro brands, you don't lose a ton of money because if you buy a watch, it doesn't really cost all that much money to begin with. And if you end up not liking the watch, it's not a huge risk. Today, we're taking a look at a new or somewhat new micro-independent brand. That's what I call them. And this is a brand called Redder. This is actually their second watch. Their first watch was somewhat unremarkable. However, this is their dress watch, and it's an ultra thin dress watch under 8 millimeters thick. But what makes this a micro-independent brand is the details, the movement, the dial. This is a very good looking watch that has some really amazing inspiration behind it. And I am really excited to show it to you guys, especially at the price that they are offering this at. So let's flip the camera and take a look at Redder watches. One of the best things about having a YouTube channel, at least for me, is that I get to display new watches, brands that you've never seen before here on the channel. I love sharing this stuff. I don't know why, I don't know what it is about my personality, but I love to share watches that I find interesting and share that with my audience because it just brings me joy. And today I have a watch that really does bring me joy to share with my channel, to share with the people who also enjoy watches. This is Redder. This looks like a vintage Corne de Vache. That's their inspiration for this watch. It's an ultra thin dress watch coming in at just under 7.5 millimeters thick. That's including a domed sapphire crystal. Yes, this gets a very slightly domed sapphire crystal with AR coating, but you could see that it is very thin. You have beautiful lugs on here. Corne de Vache means cow horns. That's basically the translation in French. That's what these are meant to look like. Vacheron made a very famous Corne de Vache. There's a chronograph that they made, but there's a few other cases that they use that have similar lugs. But that's not only proprietary to Vacheron. There are tons of other brands that have used them, and there are tons of brands that currently use them. And I can think of a few modern independent brands that make watches that are very similar looking to this. And one of the special things about this watch, not only the movement, you do get a very special movement in this watch. I'll show you that in just a few seconds. It is the dial. The dial is very layered. When you think about how thin this watch actually is, this is an incredibly layered dial. You have an outer track, that's the minute track that's in white. It's a chapter ring. It has Redder at the top and then Swiss at the bottom. That's really all the dial, all the wording on the dial is right there. There's just dots representing each one of the minutes. Then a step down from that is a layer that sort of matches the strap, and the strap is also pretty special. We'll get back to that in just a few seconds. All of these things, I want you to keep this in your mind as we talk about it, and then we'll also talk about price, because the price on this is pretty insane for all that you're getting. So I was saying that hour track is very similar in color to the strap, so they match very well. Slide indices on top of that track. Below that, the next layer down, so there's like 3 or 4 layers to this, and I think it's about 5 different pieces in total. There is a bottom layer, that's an 18 karat gold. So there's a thin layer of gold that is pressed into the dial, and that makes that pattern there. So there's these slots that go up and down vertically on the dial. And then you have small seconds. That small seconds has graining. Then you have the hands. The hands actually have lume in them. So the hands, the hour and the minutes, they do get lume. This is a ultra thin dress watch. Again, I want to reiterate that there will be a lume shot, which is pretty impressive. And then you have the applied logo right below that 12 o'clock index. The dial, the bottom portion of the dial, that part that's in gold, there's 2 different finishing there. So you have sort of a brushing that's on the top layer of those slots. Then in the crevices or the valleys of those slots, it's a little bit of a green finishing. So lots going on, lots going into this dial, really a lot of detail. They're coming out with just 3 colors, which kind of makes sense to me. silver, gold, and green. Green maybe doesn't make all that much sense to me. Maybe black would have been a better choice, more crowd pleasing, but they went with green. Good for them. They're not really going, following a crowd to begin with, so they're going their own way. Gold, silver, and green. Because of the silver case, the stainless steel case, and that gold dial, I really like it. Let me flip it over and show you the other part of this watch that makes it very special. You do get a sign crown. Like I said, it's 7.5 millimeters thick. It's a 38 millimeter watch, so I measured in around 37.8 millimeters, and you have like a 45 millimeter lug to lug. So everything here wears really well, especially for a dress watch. So here's the movement. You may not immediately recognize this movement because it's really like a 4-color movement almost, because you're getting heat blued screws. You're getting that anthracite finish on the bridges that's in matte. Then you have gold elements, so those brass elements that look gold tone. And then you have silver elements as well, the steel elements that are in this movement. So 3 or 4 different colors in total. So there's a lot going on here. They've skeletonized some of the bridges, and they've also added an anthracite color to the bridges as well. That's really nice, and this is almost unrecognizable as a 7001 ETA movement, because that's what this is. It's an ETA movement, and it's ultra thin, so that's why this watch is so thin. It's also regulated, so they've put work into making it more accurate as well. They're promising plus or minus 10 seconds per day. Last but not least, the strap. This is a leather strap. I believe it's goat or calf. I'm not sure which one this one is. However, it's one of the two. It does have Alcantara on the bottom, so this is not suede. This is Alcantara, which is beautiful. Feels really nice. And you have quick release, of course. You have a Jean Rousseau buckle, because this is a Jean Rousseau strap. Now, if you're not familiar with those straps, they are very, very high quality, very expensive straps. Many high-end brands use, and I'm going to use Ming as an example here. If you go to Ming's website right now, that's the strap that they use. There are other brands that use them as well that are also very high-end. Today I have a Vulcain. This is the Grand Prix. This is another dress watch that is thin, definitely not as thin as the watch that we're looking at today, but this is a very different style. This is a very classic looking, very straightforward, clean look. There it is on my 7.5 inch wrist. This watch is called the Mistral. I didn't say that before, but that's the name of this watch, and is by a brand called Redder. I believe this is their second watch that they've come out with, and they've really reached for the stars with this watch. I really am very impressed. It's a 38 millimeter watch, just under 38 millimeters, and just under 7.5 millimeters thick. I have a 7.5 inch wrist. Look at that. It is thin. It is paper thin. This is a very thin watch, and I believe the lug to lug is just under 45 millimeters is what I measured. So, I mean, all the measurements here, it looks great on my 7.5 inch wrist. You're getting a lot here for the price. Now, the price on this watch is starting at pre-order at $1,595. Some people might think that's a lot of money, but the amount of work that is going into a watch like this, I really genuinely think that is not a lot of money. And considering the movement, considering the dial and the layers, the strap, everything that this is getting, you're actually getting curved ends on the straps as well. Just a phenomenal package for an excellent price. What they're trying to do here is give you a high-end independent watch for obviously Microbrand money, and I think they've pulled it off. This looks and feels like a very premium watch. It actually looks like a very premium independent watch at a price that is obviously nowhere near what those watches actually sell for. There are brands out there that make watches that look very similar to this that cost in the tens of thousands of dollars. Well, I'm really impressed with this watch. I didn't know that there was Lume on the indices. I thought there was only Lume on the hands. And not only is there Lume on the hands and indices, but they've also Lume the second hand and the small seconds, which is awesome. I love to see Lume on a second hand. It's impressive that they did this. I see dive watches where they don't Lume the actual second hand, and they did it on a dress watch that is 7.5 millimeters thin. This watch, if it had a different name on the dial, if it was Ming on the dial, or I don't know, name any other independent brand, using this movement too, it would cost $10,000. Ming would charge $5,500 for this watch, at least $5,500 for this watch, using the exact same movement, except a Sellita-based version rather than the ETA-based version, which is more expensive, and a dial that doesn't actually contain gold. Definitely an amazing price for this watch. And again, you're getting Lume on that dial on such a thin dress watch. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Obviously, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed with the price. I'm really impressed with the look and the feel of this watch and all of the components that go into it. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Am I wrong here? What do you think? I definitely want to hear if I'm wrong. Please tell me in the comments. I always love to talk to you guys, so definitely tell me if you think I'm wrong. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. Super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.